Being a referee in professional sports is one of the hardest jobs out there. And with that, in today's video, we're going to be going over some of the most awful referee calls in sports history. Let's get right into it. First up, Brett Hull's skate. This play still haunts every hockey fan in Buffalo to this day. In the 1999 Stanley Cup Finals, the Dallas Stars were taking on the Buffalo Sabres in a crucial Game 6 on the road. The series had been a tight one, with Dallas holding a slight 3-2 edge and looking to win their first ever Stanley Cup. Game 6 came down to the wire and required 3 overtimes to decide a winner, where Brett Hull would pot the Stanley Cup winning goal, putting it past the goalie. However, there was one slight issue. At that point in the NHL, there was a ruling that said no player's skate should be in the goalie's crease, otherwise a goal would not be awarded. The TV replay clearly showed Brett Hull's skate in the crease, yet the referees did not make the call or even ask for a replay of their own. Instead, Dallas skated away with their first ever Stanley Cup, and Buffalo has failed to even make the finals since that year. The next season, the NHL changed the skate in the crease rule, which further fueled the anger that every Buffalo fan had. Next up, Hand of God. The 1986 World Cup quarterfinals saw one of the worst missed calls in international football's history. In a matchup between Argentina and England, Diego Maradona, arguably the greatest player in the world at that time, would score twice to help lift Argentina to victory. Yet one of his goals would find a rather odd way of hitting the back of the net. 6 minutes into the second half of the game, Maradona jumped up between two defenders to receive a pass from a teammate and ended up punching the ball into the net to open the scoring for Argentina. None of the referees saw the handball, as several England players pleaded with them to make a call. The goal would end up standing and would help Argentina to a 2-1 victory to advance to the semifinals. Maradona would later say that the goal was scored partly by the hand of God, and that phrase has stuck with the play for nearly 40 years. Next up, the non-perfect perfect game. In June of 2010, Detroit Tigers pitcher Armando Galarraga was putting on an absolute masterclass of a performance against the Cleveland Indians. The Venezuelan native had recorded 26 of 27 outs without giving up a hit or a walk, meaning that he was just 1 out away from recording the 21st perfect game in MLB history. The game came down to Cleveland Indians shortstop Jason Donald, who bounced a ground ball directly to the Tigers' Miguel Cabrera. Cabrera fielded the ball cleanly and calmly flipped it over to Galarraga at first, who clearly beat out the runner in Donald. Yet for some reason, umpire Jim Joyce called the runner safe in one of the worst blown calls in MLB history. The replay clearly showed Galarraga beating Donald to the bag by at least a couple of feet. You can also see on the replay the utter disappointment that Cabrera and Galarraga felt at that moment. Pitching a perfect game is not just one of the hardest feats to accomplish in the MLB, but in major sports league as a whole. And to have a clear perfect game essentially stripped from you by a terrible call has to be one of the most gut-wrenching feelings for a player. Not only did the player feel terrible, but Jim Joyce knew that he missed the call. He was visibly upset and has since apologized since that moment. Next up, backup ref blunder. When NFL refs went on strike during the 2012 season, Commissioner Roger Goodell had to scramble to find replacements as quickly as possible. What happened next can only be described as some of the worst officiating that the NFL has ever seen, and it hit its boiling point in a September matchup between the Seattle Seahawks and Green Bay Packers. In what became known as the Fail Mary, Seattle was driving with less than 10 seconds left on the clock in the fourth quarter on a 4th and 10 in Green Bay territory, down 12-7. Seattle quarterback Russell Wilson escaped out of the pocket and just heaved a ball down into the end zone. Seahawks receiver Golden Tate jumped up to try and come down with it, along with several Green Bay defenders. As the players came down, it looked like Green Bay came with a game-sealing interception, but Tate was still trying to fight for the possession. The two end zone officials came together and made different calls, as one said it was an interception and the other a touchdown. The two officials looked at each other and then switched their calls. The mass confusion resulted in an official review that lasted several minutes. When the officials finally came off the headset, they deemed the play a completed pass, giving Seattle a win. The backlash from this terrible call was so severe that the refs on strike ended their walkout just 2 days later. It's a good thing that they did too, considering how quickly the fans were turning on the sport and the league. Missed calls are bound to happen, and for the most part, the missed calls are by a fraction of a second. Yet in some severe cases, you have times like these ones in the video. Mistakes were so severe that they ended strikes and even lost teams a chance at a championship. Refs can't be perfect all the time, but they can sure be wrong a lot of the time. But that's going to do it for today's video, so thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that you never miss another video. We'll see you guys next time.